Thank you, Natasha. So welcome everybody. My name's Danny Hodgson, work for an organisation called Foresight. We are a workforce planning organisation. But as Natasha said at the beginning, hopefully after this you'll still think I'm one of the good guys. So I was one of you once upon a time, a head of TA, and for many years it was my job to kind of design, build and implement large-scale in-house recruitment teams. But the one thing kind of that really used to impact that kind of objective were the organisations that I work for were absolutely useless at telling me and my team what they needed to hire. So one thing led to another. Myself and Craig, the other co-founder over there, we decided to embark upon trying to fix this for everybody experiencing the same problem. So it's kind of our mission at Foresight to make sure that every TA team on the planet is underpinned by having a kind of an accurate recruitment demand plan. So every single role that you're going to recruit for the next kind of 3, 6, 9, 12, 36 months, but a granular breakdown. So hopefully you can picture in your lives how much that would mean to you and your teams when it comes to everything that I'm going to discuss shortly. So the other thing about workforce planning is, in a world where AI and machine learning is being thrown at us from every single angle, workforce planning can seem a bit dull and not sexy. So hopefully after this you'll start to see that workforce planning is kind of the secret, sexiest topic in TA. So workforce planning and sexy, 2 words you didn't think you were going to hear before lunch. So, but hopefully by the end of this. So, one of the big reasons kind of workforce planning gets pushed like down the agenda is organisations think it's all about predicting, right? And they get caught up trying to predict what the future is going to be. But our mantra, as you'll see shortly, is all about distilling that prediction into the known stuff. So focusing on your known recruitment demand will turbocharge your recruitment's performance. So, as an example of a bad prediction. So hopefully this will, people might have seen this on social media quite recently, but in 1998, this is what 442 magazine predicted David Beckham was going to look like. So unfortunately, they didn't take into account his insane genetics. But this is like an example of, do not focus on trying to predict the future, focus on the controllables. So, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So, workforce planning, it means so many different things to so many different people. Even within an organisation, you'll have multiple different definitions within your organisation. But this is the CIPD's version. And we kind of fundamentally agree with it, right? So having the right people with the right skills at the right time to deliver organisational objectives, right? It's kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But unfortunately, that's where kind of the CIPD stop. They don't tell us the how, the why, the what, how to physically implement their workforce planning framework. So that's what I'm going to kind of walk you through today. So our framework, right, we break it down, we break the big workforce planning problem down into 4 simpler buckets. Demand planning, so our organisation provide our customers an accurate demand plan of every single role they're going to recruit for the next 3, 6, 9, 12, 36 months. We do go a bit further out than 3 years, but ultimately for accuracy purposes, that's our sweet spot. As you can hopefully imagine, if suddenly you and your recruitment team are given that kind of demand roadmap of every single role you're going to recruit, everything that you're chasing is going to be turbocharged. And we'll talk about it in a minute, but your time to hire, your cost per hire, your quality of hire, your ED&I initiatives, they're going to be turbocharged. Second bucket, flight risk profiling. So we give our customers, again, very detailed information of every single flight risk that sits out there in the organisation. With that information, more often than not, it's their HRBPs can get in front of those managers, retaining those individuals, saving huge amounts of money, retraining, re-onboarding, and re-recruiting a new employee. So that's bucket number 2. Bucket number 3, succession planning. So we give a laser-like lens across our customers' organisation of every single succession plan in place, but more importantly, where they don't have succession plans in place and the risk associated to that, right? So you can imagine now an organisation having that detailed information, what they'll be able to do with that. And then the fourth one, a use case that's on the rise, we provide our customers really detailed information on L&D skills gap analysis across their managers and ultimately across their employee base as well. And hopefully you can imagine with that information what you'd be able to do with that. But for the last 10 years or so, Craig and I have been trying to explain the importance of demand planning, trying to rise it to the top of everybody's agenda. And we've tried and tried and tried using some very complex analogies, but then suddenly someone came up with this, right? And hopefully this kind of distills down the importance of demand planning in the most easiest way to understand. And I think this kind of picture should be hung on every TA office's door, right, on the planet, to explain to our managers, right, this is the importance of demand planning, right? There's obviously a few people laughing, so it's obviously resonating there. So as I mentioned, demand planning should be the foundational data set that underpins every single recruitment function in the country, right? Because if we really think about it, a demand plan just gives us more time, right? And so an average lead time across our customer base currently is around about 100 days. So imagine if suddenly every single role that you're recruiting, your managers are saying, I don't need it tomorrow. You've got 100 days, right? You've got three and a bit months to go to market. You can imagine what we'd be able to do with that. We'd be able to kind of reduce our reliance on agency spend. Our direct sourcing would go through the roof, yeah? The quality of hire is going to be impacted because we've got more time to go out and assess more people in the market, right? Driving up the quality of our candidates, ultimately impacting our hiring managers' satisfaction. They're going to be happier. But we've talked about it in a couple of the sessions previously. Because we've now got more time, we can create more inclusive and diverse campaigns, right? And what do more diverse and inclusive campaigns result in? More diverse and inclusive shortlists, which naturally result in more diverse and inclusive hiring. So by simply just having more time, not changing anything else in your recruitment process, these are the things that are going to be impacted, right? So I'm just going to walk you through some specific examples of what our customers have used in terms of that demand plan. So here, I'll walk you through the graph. It might be a bit confusing, but it will definitely make sense. So one of our customers, Capita, right, we analysed, before they used Foresight, we analysed nearly 900 roles, right, of how their hiring communities were engaging with their TA team. And we found they had an average notice to recruit of -3 days. So things like, Danny, we need a new procurement director. Why? Phil's retiring. When does Phil retire? He left 3 days ago, right? 900 times, right? For different reasons. Danny, we need a new software engineer. Why? Sally's going off on mat leave. When does Sally go? 3 days ago. This is an average, right? So obviously some of that would have been even further away. When a manager's telling you someone's left 3 days ago, they're screaming. It kind of ties one hand behind our back in terms of how we're going to approach the market. So naturally, we have to open all channels. What do they mean? Agencies. Cost per hire goes up. Managers kind of peed off because they want to open all these channels from day one. We press the button with our kind of methodology, and overnight, Capita went from -3 days to 72 days lead time. Yeah? So suddenly, overnight, we'd flipped the way their hiring communities were engaging with their TA team. And they didn't lift a finger. It was just our methodology that allowed them to do that. With those extra 72 days, heads up, they save £1.3 million, right? Across all those things you can see there. So again, I've reviewed thousands of CVs, kind of hiring recruiters, and we all claim to say, I've reduced £100,000 here, there on agency usage, all that kind of stuff. £1.3 million in 9 months. That's pretty powerful stuff. Someone's getting a promotion. Other angles, so again, this is customer data here. So hiring manager satisfaction. This is live, kind of real, in-time, unsolicited feedback of what's happening in our customers' recruitment teams. So sometimes we're a bit afraid to go out to our hiring managers and start changing the way they approach their recruitment, the way they approach their demand planning. We might think, it's just another job for them to do. They're too busy as it is. But actually, all of our feedback, right, and all of our analysis shows that not only managers can do it, they want to do it, and they enjoy doing it because they see the benefits to kind of their own teams. Yeah, isn't it a no-brainer? If they tell us in advance of what they're going to recruit, they're going to get a better recruitment service. But unfortunately, we've all got 25, 30, 40 live recs each. We can't then focus on going to the managers and becoming that strategic advisor. We're stuck in that reactive hamster wheel of that transactional recruitment, whereas here, again, it might be quite hard to read, but some of those are actually LinkedIn comments. Yeah, they've launched this, and then Dan DeBeck, one of our customers at a council, again, getting live feedback on LinkedIn about how great this process is and how positively it's impacting the recruitment team's performance. So again, another snapshot. It's really important for me to kind of hammer home the data we capture about our demand plan, which is what we'll focus on today, isn't just high-level numbers. It's not just, we think you're going to hire 1,456 people next year, right? Organisations, they could probably tell you that. But when you say to them, well, are those 1,756 people? They go, don't know, right? It's important for me to hammer home the data that we capture, and the way we capture it is granular. So it's bottom up. It's from every single line manager about what's going on in their team and about kind of the different reasons for the demand. So here, that's actually a live recruitment plan for one of our customers where they've harvested 169 future roles that they never had before, 88 flight risks, and they've saved 2.2 million quid, right? So this is really, really powerful stuff. So how do we do it? It might sound a bit too good to be true. So there's 5 kind of main points. I won't kind of labour on this one because I'll drill into each of these individual points going forward. But defining the problem statement, who needs to be involved, what data points do we need to get, how do we collect it, and then how do we action it? So first one, defining the problem statement. The thing with workforce planning is, like we've talked, it's not very sexy, right? So what we need to do is we need to get rid of the kind of the phrase of workforce planning, and we need to define the problem statement in terms of linking it to bigger organisational goals, right? So one of our customers' examples was they were trying to reduce empty chair time within their sales function, so their commercial function, trying to keep their teams fuller for longer. And when they started having these conversations with their head of commercial or their sales director, and they worked out how much it cost them every single day to have these people not doing their job, huge amounts of money. So it became not a workforce planning problem, but a sales enablement program, right? That sounds a lot sexy, doesn't it, right? When we start using language internally like that, not workforce planning, sales enablement programs, suddenly the business are going to sit up and start to kind of listen. So first one, define the problem statement. I'd also say be a bit selfish, right? It's quite often in recruitment we try and fix every single problem for everybody. Hone in on what's going to be your problem and keep it linked to solving that one problem. Pick your number one agenda point next year. Like you saw, time to hire, cost per hire, hiring manager satisfaction. I reckon we could do some root cause analysis. Every single problem that you're trying to fix next year is linked to not having a demand plan, right? So pick that number one thing and that becomes your problem statement. Who should be involved? So again, in the early days, our customers were a bit worried about engaging their line managers, right? But unfortunately, there's no way around it. These are the people that know what's going on in their team. They know retirees, they know mat leavers, they know internal mobility, they know the growth, they know the bids, they know the projects. But unfortunately, the problem is there's too many of them, right? And we'll come on to how we engage that many people shortly. But it's about defining who's going to be involved. So number one, it is our line managers. So we have to figure out a way of how do we lift our heads up from the day-to-day recs, that kind of reactive world, and engage our managers to start to try and understand what's coming down the line, right? Because that stuff's coming whether we like it or not. So how do we get ahead of the curve? So engage our managers. Other things, bring in our HRBPs. They're going to have a massive part to play. Show the benefits to them, and they'll help you kind of with that common strategy and get your managers on board. So what data points do we need? So this slide might be a bit kind of upside down. So I'll focus on the reasons for the demand. So again, at the beginning, right, you remember the David Beckham picture, we're trying to predict what's coming up. Let's not try and predict anything. Let's focus on the known stuff, right? Start simple and build maturity over time. But that starting simply, the data points are who are your retirees, who are your mat leavers, Who's your internal movers? Who's your secondments? What growth projects are coming down the line? What new sites are opening? That's all known stuff, right? But unfortunately, like I say, there's too many managers out there to have conversations with to collect that data in a sustainable way. So naturally, we focus on the here and now and try and fill roles. But these are the data points that kind of build our demand plan, and there's no getting around it. So start with the known demand data points, which are those on the board. Flight risk. Whilst you're asking your managers about future recruitment demand, why don't we ask them about flight risks? Who are you concerned about? Why are they a flight risk? Yeah. What have you tried to do before? Do you even want to retain them? Because whilst you're extracting that demand, they'll tell you in their droves about, Danny, I'm concerned about Sally. Why? Well, she's coming to work 2 days in a suit and we have a dress down policy, so I think she might be having an interview. Great. But imagine we can do that en masse within an organisation. Suddenly we've got a laser-like lens on all of our flight risks and why and what we can do about them. So those are your data points. Start simply. How do we collect it, right? So 2 choices. You've all seen the cost, quality, speed triangle. So technology, yeah, it's going to be, the data's going to be quality, it's going to be quick, you can do it at scale, but unfortunately it's going to cost you something, right? Or, like a lot of our customers were trying to do in the early days, they were trying to do a manual process, which the data would be pretty good, it's free, but it's going to be slow, right? But ultimately, the bright sparks in here will recognise, well, it's still not technically free, is it? It still requires a human being paid to do that. An analogy that I like to use is, and we've got a couple of kind of ATS partners in here, if you're as old as me, right, back in the day in TA, some of us were trying to run our functions without an ATS on Excel. It is possible, right, but some bright spark 15, 20 years ago said, why the hell are you doing that? Get some technology to do that. It's a better use of your time. And that's all we're saying, right? If you're an organisation of a certain size, you probably would benefit from having technology to do this at speed and at scale. So, to recap, quite simply, link it to your kind of number one objective. Everything you're kind of writing down there, come and see us. We'll be able to link that and turn that into commercial language that you can take back to your organisations. Try not to fix everybody's problem. When you start to collect this data, everyone will come out the woodwork saying, oh, why do we do this with it? Why do we do that with it? Just fix your problems first. A lack of capacity. Again, everything I've said here is common sense, isn't it? Yeah. Whenever I've done demos, done 200, 300, 400 demos, right, since we began kind of our mission, every single person, Danny, this is a no-brainer. Why aren't you doing it? Well, because I've got a team of 15 recruiters. They've got 25 live recs. We've got 700 managers. We can't physically get out there and have these conversations manually. So automation is essential to succeed in here. Start simply. Just do something, right? Focus on progression, not perfection. It kills us pretty much in all other walks of life. But start simply, build maturity over time. And again, the longer you put off workforce planning, if you do a bit of a business case, so a good stat, one of our customers, we went through this process around about 3 weeks ago. They're an £8.8 billion organisation, but we worked out for their lack of workforce planning is costing them $210 million a year, right? When they took that back internally, suddenly workforce planning is the number one objective to try and fix, right? Because £210 million through a lack of business planning, it's huge, right? But the longer they put it off, right, and they're saying, can we get funding to do this? Can we move the project on? And you know the internal delays. We'll divide $210 million by 12 months, right? And every month, that's how much they're hemorrhaging cash. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. So you'll notice on our standout there, right, we don't have notepads, right, we don't have mouse mats, yeah. Our mission isn't to give you that kind of swag, there's loads of people doing that. Our mission is to try and underpin all of you with an accurate recruitment demand plan for 2024, right? So our gift, instead of a notepad or a mouse mat, is you can use our platform for free to go and get your 2024 kind of recruitment demand plan. Yeah, come and speak to us, you'll see us in blue t-shirts, Craig and Jack over there. But if you're interested in obtaining that information to try and drive more direct sourcing, reduce agency spend, all that kind of stuff, improve ED&I initiatives, come and speak to us. We'll get you launched for free, but that's kind of our gift for you. Any questions?
Excellent, thank you.